So Tim Brown, welcome to RepTalk. How are you today?
Good. How you doing, man?
I'm doing excellent. I've been looking forward to this conversation. Tim is with Hook Agency. He has a marketing background and he has a podcast called Hook Better Leads. And in talking with you last week, I kind of got a chuckle out of something. And you said contractors they don't look like marketing people. So what's your experience? Why do people not like marketing people, especially contractors? What is it? What's the stigma all about?
For good reason. I guess I'd say 50% of it is good reason. There's a lot of low end, just like there's probably a lot of low end HVAC contractors. There's a lot of low end marketers who give the industry a bad name. Like one of our things is like we're trying to be hardworking marketing. And that means we actually get a lot done within every single month that we work with people. So the point is like there's marketing agencies that will sit around and collect the check and then not get stuff done on a rhythmic, regular basis. And they give the reputation a bad name, or the industry a bad name. And the other thing is that search engine optimization specialists, people that help you get higher on Google, those guys also have a bad name because they spam people a lot. And they kind of act like SEO, search engine optimization, is like a black box, or it's like magical. And like, you don't need to really know. And our difference is like, we essentially really want our clients to know the specific actions, the habits that they could take internally. And then they can hand those off to us. It's like understanding first before delegating.
Yeah, and that's a key point, because I'm old school. I mean, I just found out what SEO meant last year. Okay, so I think there's a definite need. Good news for your team. There's a definite need out there for that, for understanding that, or have somebody understand it. So do you work turnkey, or do you work with, say, a company already has a marketing person on board?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you?
I think we work pretty well with somebody with a marketing manager or somebody internally. Maybe they don't have like 10 people in their marketing department. We say basically like 2 million to 20 million is a good range for the types of companies that we work with. But yeah, sometimes owners work with us too if they like understanding and working on their own marketing, because there are certain things that we don't do. Like we're not as heavy into like social media marketing or things like that, where it's like, it's good to have somebody who cares about marketing internally. That's kind of like basically people that like marketing like us.
Mm-hmm. I'm happy to have you here for this reason. There's a definite need, and especially after the year we've lived in 2020 this past year, I think there's plenty of opportunity to do things differently, right? Whether it's forced on us or not, and I think it gives us all a moment to take a step back, look at our companies, look at how we want to be perceived in the public eye. Maybe it's a time to start fresh, maybe have a new image, maybe do something just a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I know in our industry, in heating and air conditioning, we're guilty of just talking about, features and benefits of equipment and efficiency forever, right? Just blah, blah, blah. Everybody talks about the same thing. And so the question is, how can you set yourself apart? And I see you doing it. You're leading the way by example, by the way. I enjoy your content.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man.
You're doing it. So your podcast, what is your goal for the podcast? Is it exactly that, or what? I mean,
I'll be honest. I think it's I think it really is partly to share information amongst each other, both in the trades. We have a lot of roofing content. We're having plumbing experts, HVAC experts. We'll probably have other types of trades on there. But the point is like we're sharing amongst each other in ways that it doesn't always get shared. And there is a consistent theme with the types of people that we have on there, which is they need leads on a regular basis. And these companies, these industries, they thrive off of, we're going after premium service providers, not the ones that want to be low end. And the way that you set yourself apart, you and I I'm super excited. We're going to talk about 8 marketing habits that you should focus on as an HVAC contractor. But like the framing, like you're saying, that matters at the beginning is like they're so focused on themselves, features versus the benefits. And that's a huge problem. If there's anything I see right when I land on HVAC company websites, like right now, they're broken, which is they're so focused on themselves. They're so focused on themselves. Every single one, almost every single one, not how your life could be better as a homeowner, not how your air could be higher quality, not anything about you and your family's life. It's always about us. And I get it. sometimes it's like, I want our team to feel good. So we have that big picture of our 20, 30 people, but it's like, no one cares about you. And if you're really spending money on marketing that website, it's not necessarily the highest quality. Like when they're going there, they're dropping off in higher numbers than they would be if it was focused on them, if it was about them and their family's life. So that's the biggest shift that I think people need to make, is making it about the customer on their marketing.
You bring up an excellent point, Tim, and I'm a true believer in that. You walk into somebody's home, they don't want to hear about you. You should be asking about them. Always let it be about the other person first and foremost, right? That's the golden rule. I mean,
less pressure too.
Yeah, less pressure. This day and age, it's about making business frictionless, being known for that resource, whatever your trade might be, that knowledge, and sharing, right? It's all about sharing, being a good person, and you're out there for their best interest. And you got to let that be known some way, shape, or form, right? I mean,
I love it.
So let's get right into it. So if I'm an HVAC contractor today, I know you're a big habit guy. So what are the 8 great habits from a marketing standpoint that an HVAC contractor should get into?
And I should be honest, the first couple here are essentially, they're kind of pre-habits, if I'm honest, but they're part of my 8. So I'm gonna go through them kind of quick, because
start from scratch.
One of them is to really catalog, right? To actually look at where your leads have come from. Where has your business come from? First of all, I think there's 2 good things. Like I do this in a spreadsheet. It doesn't have to be that complicated. It's just like lead source, right? Our lead source. And like maybe you have a nice CRM that does this for you, but lead source. And the other thing is, I think is a good thing to catalog is initial need. So like, what is their initial need? Because sometimes we get a lot of business from, let's say, the AC being broken, but then they become they have a bigger need later on. So there's this opportunity to look at that initial need too, because for instance, for us, like the initial need is often the website, but most of our revenue comes from search engine optimization, because that's the biggest thing that we handle on a monthly basis. So what is that for you? What is that initial need versus where your revenue comes, how much revenue you've got for different things, and push into what's worked. What is this? What is the source for all these leads? Because, for some of us, it's all referrals. For some of us, Google My Business is a big one. I will talk about Google My Business in a second, the map section of Google, right? So really having those things down on a regular basis and looking at them in graph form, it really kind of turns on your brain, because you're like, 62% of our business is coming from referrals, and we have no marketing habits surrounding referrals.
Wow.
What is wrong with us? Like, we should be asking on social media on a regular basis for referrals. We should be treating our social media as an opportunity to increase referrals, not just trying to hit them with a pitch every time. So the second habit is identify habits that relate to those biggest sources. So we've got the big spreadsheet, we've got the graph in front of us with the big, huge pie chunk that's referrals, or maybe we have the big, huge pie chunk that's Google Ads or Google My Business or what have you. And then what are the habits? Particularly if I'm a marketing manager, a marketing director in one of these companies, but if I own one of these companies, or if I'm the person responsible for marketing, how can I turn those into habits? And the ideal is obviously that you have somebody full-time that's cranking on those habits. So if I've identified we have leads and business coming from Google search, how can I increase the habits in that area? How can I get somebody internally? What are those habits? And for me, before I owned this company, I was just a marketing director somewhere, and I basically I identified Google search was the biggest thing. All right, the 2 habits I can do is go write for other websites and get links back to my website or our website. And then the other thing I could do was write. I could sit there, because I didn't have money. We had no money whatsoever. So it was just like, what can I do with my time? And I just wrote. I wrote giant guides. I wrote little blog posts that answered questions that our customers had. I asked the salespeople, what are people asking in the phone calls? What question have you gotten 2 or 3 times this month? So that's a great place to start with content marketing. And then 3, this one is so easy and so simple, and people get so complicated with their marketing. Go hard on Google My Business. Just make sure it's fully filled out. Make sure you use every last letter on the description and talk about each one of your services, but most importantly, talk about how you're going to make their life better. You got to work those together, obviously. Gotcha. And then getting more reviews, adding pictures, using the full space on that description. Like I said, all services listed, all service areas listed. Google My Business is freaking powerful, man. It's so powerful. So if you're not fully filled out there, if your company's not fully filled out there, go today, talk to the marketing person, get that fixed.
Okay.
Because that is huge. And then, yes, those reviews, we know how we search, like as homeowners, as people that are looking for services, we know how we search. We're looking at those reviews. Is it above 4.5? Do they have more than 30 reviews? Just apply that empathy to their situation. And I think a lot of HVAC companies do have this down. They understand their bread and butter, but it's certainly the biggest thing that you can do. Let's say if you're doing a new company or if you're not taking care of that currently. Big first step.
Excellent. That's what I love about these dialogues, because I'm still learning, and I Google the Google business thing. I would never, and again, I'm not a marketing guy, but let's say I'm a small business guy. What do I need to know? And that's,
you don't even have to have a website to have a Google My Business, and it can give you as many leads as anything, really. I mean,
great tip.
And
great
the other, like I'm just going to pop right into like random thing. This isn't a habit, but if you're not doing Google local service ads and you're an HVAC company, you're missing out, because it's the best real estate. It's the thing right up there at the top. There's a carousel and it has the reviews and companies, and you can spend $500 a month and get a great return on investment. But if you're not there, oh man, you're really missing out.
It's like in your mind, and I hate this term, it's like the biggest no-brainer, right?
It's so easy. It's so easy, so cheap. You don't need a marketing agency to do it. You don't need a marketing manager to do it. You could set this up in an hour and have leads coming to you for $500 a month with way better than Home Advisor leads.
That's
way better than anybody.
Is that the new Yellow Pages? Do you still have customers that still advertise? I mean, is it still relevant?
I would say I've got opinions. Obviously, I think Yellow Pages is a little dead. I think yellowpages.com, you should make sure your reviews are good there, right? Like, I'll skip to one that I had a little bit later in the list, but spending a little bit of time each week to push on referrals and reviews is a good thing, right? No matter what, like if make sure you're responding to emails if somebody connects you with their neighbor. Make sure that you're being nice.
That's
no matter what.
The biggest sin that I know of, and again, from being a non-marketing guy and especially not a digital guy, the biggest sin that I've heard is leaving comments out there hanging.
Yeah, don't do that. And that means, respond to those 1-star reviews on Google. Say nice things. It's not about that person. You don't need to get them back right now. You need to talk to everybody else that's out there on the internet looking at these reviews.
Yeah.
You need to be careful.
But it's worse if nothing is said, right?
Yes. Right. So basically just be cool and don't be uncool.
Just understand that you're probably never going to win that argument, but at least address
it. Sure, you could say, but don't try to prove them wrong there. That's
what I mean, right?
Yeah, you don't do the underhand.
Don't go down that rabbit hole.
You're just not going to win it. You're losing. You're wrestling in mud with a pig, so you're going to lose it. Anything we do, we want to try to help resolve the situation. We want to connect with you. Let's connect over email. We want to, move it in that direction, try to help, but then say, we totally understand. We feel like we're going to work on this. It's kind of like you got to give a little one-off to them at least. And, don't bow down. Don't say
even though we might know wrong that you did anyway.
Yeah. Sometimes they are, right? Sometimes they're wrong. But ultimately in the eyes of the internet, they're never wrong, right? So it doesn't matter. But respond to those.
Yep. Take the high road and respond, right?
Yep. Yeah, and on Facebook, Bing, Yahoo, BBB, Yellow Pages, Yelp, respond to the reviews. Do your best. Understand what people are looking for. And sometimes hey, dude, something that, you're not always wrong in the way you provided services. You might have given them the exact thing that they paid for. You might have been really responsive. You might have answered all their questions. You might have done everything right. But if there's at least one little tiny room for improvement, hey, we should have educated them a little bit better on the front end.
Good point.
Like try to take responsibility, like try to take responsibility, like try to talk to your rep, see what you can do. Because at the end of the day, if you don't fix that, there will be more 1-star reviews. That's
you can humanize it. Just exactly what you said. You can humanize it. Yep. Great advice.
Yeah. And then, one is just regularly updating your website. It doesn't have to be that crazy, but we believe in having a persuasive website. We talked about the framing it as if the customer is the hero. You want your website to be mobile friendly, easy to navigate, those types of things, but just regular updates. Like, if you had the COVID thing, we're still in business, make sure they know that you're still in business, and other types of things where it's like, these guys are working. This is a fresh company. They're alive. That's what we need. So like, I think it's also just on the homepage, having some things that change out on a regular basis that talk about the seasons, that actually like that are refreshed, and they're not just stale.
Yeah.
And
you can tell, honestly, you can tell, even again, being a layperson here, I can tell when I'm on a web page that hasn't been addressed in years. I mean, it looks dusty.
Yeah. And why not in this industry have those summer, winter promotions, have those friendly messages, have those little bits that change out based on the seasons,
Excellent.
And then number 6, content marketing, and then share on social. So like I said, you can answer questions that your ideal customers are asking. They ask it 2 or 3 times. If you're a marketing manager, go talk to the sales reps. They know a lot. Honestly, salespeople I'm a marketing guy. I honestly don't even know if I love sales so much. I'm sorry. But I talk to our salesperson. I ask him, I'm like, what have people been asking? Like, what's something that keeps coming up? And it's the best content that we put out. It gets the most engagements on social media. It hits. It's good. It's like, So marketing, talk to sales. Sales, talk to marketing. Sales, if I could tell you anything, marketing people can really enhance the conversations you're having if there's consistency between what you're doing and what they're doing. And you can use them. They want to hear from you because they're sometimes struggling with coming up with stuff and like they're sick of saying the same old thing. So like tell them the real questions, the real stuff that people are talking about, the opportunities. And then sharing it on social. Don't create content on the website and not share it on social. And like if there's one thing marketing managers could get into more if they're listening to this, are people that make decisions on marketing, keyword research, keyword strategy. Those are the biggest things. If you dig into those, there's a lot of tools for finding things because we have tools that can show what people are Googling, how much they're Googling it, how much they're Googling it in your area, those types of things. It's crazy. It's crazy what you can figure out. It's crazy. You can look at the back end of a competitor's website and see all the things that they're ranking for on Google.
So all those analytics are out there, man.
They're out there. And they're like, there's tools, there's cheap tools. Ahrefs, ahrefs.com is one of them. SEMrush, SEMrush.com is another one. They're fairly cheap. It's great market research too, just to like dig into what your competitors are ranking for. Hey, what services are lucrative to them right now? Wouldn't that be nice to know? So that's a really easy way to do that. And it combines with how many people are searching this a month. Yeah, there's also like the ability to see like how much their traffic would cost if they paid for it in Google ads, like how much their organic. It's just basically crazy. And like the first time I saw this, I was like, oh my God, this is fun.
It's funny you spring it. So we actually looked on our end back in March and April, actually towards April. We looked up the word, tried to see how many people searched air purifier. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, we had like a historical like peak. It was like Mount Everest of anything that ever looked like, given the times that we were in. Yeah. Like, wow. So whatever's going on at the moment, and that's obviously can lead into how you're saying keep things fresh too, right? Yeah.
Yes. Another thing is Google Trends. So Google Trends is another way to see like those spikes. Again, because I think the historical tools on some of the ones I mentioned it's basically like history, but it's hard to tell when something's spiking at that moment. So Google Trends is another way to see those big spikes in your industry. I love it. It's
and again,
fun.
You can take this information that you're learning through what you're saying here and actually maybe give your website an update or freshen it up based on what's going on at the time too, right?
Yep. And as somebody who designs websites, I think it's also our responsibility to create those sections on the homepage that are intended to be updated with promos and specials, and having those ready and available to swap things in and not make them look cheap. That's another thing. It's like, you don't want it to look like it's always a coupon and you're always just hitting them with a deal, because then you look like the cheapest thing. I'm not saying never do that. I'm saying you should also make it look classy and you should try to, yeah, exactly. So number 7, reviews and testimonials. Videos are the best, but on your website, show faces, the 5 stars, where the review that was left. I like having like a little Google logo and a 5-star with it. Make it feel like it's like a reviews widget rather than a testimonial section, because testimonial sections it feels a little less like curated and a little bit more natural when you had the 5 stars up there and everything, and have that, like, that can be like the second thing or the first thing on your website is this reviews oriented section.
Interesting. Have you had anybody actually give like video testimonials at all along the way?
Yes. Oh, we love those. We think
I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
It seems to me like I'm seeing more and more of them, and it gives you like a human face.
It's a great, I think of it, like I said, I like thinking about that as a habit. How about we try to go out and get one video testimonial a quarter or something like that? Like you have like some systems around it. Try to create systems. I mean, get your first one if you haven't yet. But like at that point, it's also something that it should be like a rhythmic thing as well.
Yeah, honestly, you don't need to send a film crew to their house now. Everybody's familiar with the virtual meetings now, so it should be easier than ever to get these, right?
Exactly. And like, if you're a smaller company, it's like just when the trigger is when you start to hear somebody acting like a raving fan. Right? Like,
there you go.
You're out there, they're saying all these nice things. That happens a lot. I do go with contractors to houses and talk to homeowners, and sometimes we're there for a different kind of video and they start going, oh, I love this. Sometimes I've also been on those jobs where something went wrong and it's crazy and you're like, oh God, I don't know why. I don't know why the marketing guy's here today. But other times somebody starts going in, right? They're like very excited. And that's the time you just got to turn on the camera. You got to flip it around. And you got to start capturing. And I think that it is useful to basically think of that as a trigger for turning on your phone, capturing it. And it's almost better. I'm not even going to tell you any tips on how to capture that perfectly, because sometimes it's imperfect and people like that because it feels way more natural. Like if you get a giant film crew in there and you get the person sitting in a chair perfectly and he goes, Sunnyside HVAC was the perfect, we just from start to finish. It was such a clean process. It's like,
we all know reality TV when we see it, right?
Exactly. So you gotta be okay with a little bit of quick and dirty on those testimonials. I really think they matter. I mean, I'm not saying to never do those high-end ones, but in the meantime, capture on the way.
Excellent advice.
And then just lastly, I'm gonna say, actually, hey, I might have an extra one. I'm sorry,
it's okay. Hey, we're all ears.
All right, we've got Facebook promoted posts, remarketing. On the Google Ads side, remarketing is a great opportunity because essentially it just means if somebody comes to your website, they see it everywhere they go afterwards. So if they're in maybe they're in a rush and they're trying to see who can fix their AC, they're like, they see your website, they see it at a competitor's website, but then later that week when they haven't made a decision yet, your ad's popping up. So that's called remarketing. It's not that hard. You just need a little ad that kind of reiterates the same message or kind of decreases friction. And Facebook promoted posts are just an easy way to kind of, like take your best content. If you do a video that's like a how-to video or something like that, you can do promoted posts. And then the last one, and I kind of just want to offer a little bit of like a 201 option here for people that maybe thought a little bit of this was just refresher. The biggest thing you can do for, what we do, right? What we do is search engine optimization. And a big piece to that, and a lot of this has been basic stuff, but this one's a little harder, which is you can do writing for other websites and a link back to your website. Now, it's not about the clicks from that article. It's about getting respect in Google's algorithm for your website. And the more respect you have, the more algorithmic authority you have on your website, the more Google will serve you up towards the top of search results. And so every one of those links back to your website matters, whether it's from Yelp or Yellow Pages or BBB or your local chamber of commerce. Every single one of those matters. If somebody, just a pro tip, like if a news crew comes out and you do like a special, make sure they link to you too. Make
Very
sure
good
people,
point.
anytime you're sponsoring an event, make sure they link to you too. Every one of those links matters. But you can write for other people on a regular basis and then get links back. It matters more. Each new article on a new website matters more than just writing for the same one over and over again. And then 2 ways to do that. Obviously, podcasts is a great way to do that, because a lot of times, like this podcast probably goes out on 3-5 different websites, just because like podcast aggregators and stuff like that. So that's another great thing. And then help a reporter out is another awesome way to scale out. We're called link building. It's one aspect of search engine optimization. It's 1/3 of search engine optimization. If you have an SEO company and they're not doing it, they're basically not doing one of the biggest things. And help a reporter out is basically just reporters come and ask for sources, and then you can respond. You can respond with a paragraph, and then they'll 1 out of 5, 1 out of 10 will quote you back in an article. And we've gotten our clients featured on like readersdigest.com and stuff from this. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but yeah, so you can just respond to these pitches and like, yeah, you have to do a lot of them to get real mentions.
That's fascinating.
But it's actually really cool. And like, contractors, we've got them feature on these bigger publications because of it. So it's kind of cool. It's just one piece, but basically just knowing links matter is the first step, and anything you can do to get more links back to your website from other websites, ideally with some authority. I'll give one last tool. You can see the authority of a website by using something called Mozbar, Mozbar, and it tells you whether something is an authority website. It will allow you to make better decisions about, trying to get media or get these links.
Yep. And something like that, you would actually, as a service, you would look at that for a client anyway, right?
Yeah.
You basically provide everything you just laid out. You manage and maintain and watch everything as if you.
Yeah. Well, we get links and we do content. So I would say we're a web designer, and then we help people get higher on Google. Those habits, I'm thinking more about a marketing manager or somebody internally. We don't necessarily, a good chunk of those we handle, but it's not necessarily our service. So we know that we're not the only aspect of marketing for people. So I try to this is what I would do if I was your company. I can't do all that to the exact extent that like I would if I was a marketing manager at your company, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. Yeah. So I'm trying to give it to you like you're going to do it yourself, but links, content, and then we help make really cool websites too. So like any of those things you can reach out to us for. Is there, if I give my
Tim, how would one get a hold of you?
Hook Agency, hookagency.com, and Tim at hookagency.com if you just want to say what's up, and I'll try to be of service. We do like kind of free consultations and strategy sessions with people as just a way to, establish relationship and we'd love to chat with people if they need anything.
Tim, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. It's been very informative, and I'm glad we were smiling most of the time because Google is going to be doing their face recognition on us. Hopefully they get positive vibes out of this dialogue.
Every video do start with a smile at least,
and then we get good thumbnails.
Yeah, that's why I always do this. Like I'm like thumbnail. Like start your video with a big smile. That's my last tip.
Thank you so much, Tim. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and hopefully
sir.
We can do this, catch up again some other time as well. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.